Let's talk about a pretty wild idea. What if the key to your mental health isn't really in your head at all, but in your gut? We're about to dive into this hidden world inside you that might just be pulling the strings when it comes to your mood.
I mean, think about it. Are you feeling tired, a little anxious, dealing with that annoying brain fog? We always blame stress or not getting enough sleep. But what if the real culprit is hiding somewhere you'd never ever think to look? Inside your gut.
You've heard the phrase, a gut feeling, right? Well, it turns out that's not just a cute metaphor. There is a very real, very powerful biological connection between what's happening in your digestive system and what's going on upstairs in your brain.
To really get this connection, we first need to meet the main characters in our story. And there are trillions of them all living inside you right now. The best way to think about it is like a complex, bustling garden inside your gut.
And here's the thing to remember. These tiny residents aren't invaders. Not at all. They are essential partners in our health. They're a huge community working 24/7 just to keep us up and running.
So the official scientific name for this inner world is the microbiome. It's this whole community of microorganisms living mostly in your large intestine, and their main job is to help you process food and metabolize nutrients. But as we're about to see, their job description is actually much, much bigger than just that.
A healthy microbiome is an absolute powerhouse. It's in there fermenting fiber, producing essential vitamins for you, helping to regulate your metabolism, and it even trains your immune system. But here's the most important piece of the puzzle. The health of this entire ecosystem is directly shaped by what you decide to eat every single day.
But okay, this inner world does way more than just digest your lunch. Its influence is so deep, so profound, that scientists have started calling it the brain's second command center. And this brings us to a fascinating kind of new field of study called the psychobiome. It's all about the incredible influence your gut has over your brain, your mood, and even your behavior. Yeah, it means there's a direct physical line between the bacteria in your gut and your mental state.
This all happens along something called the gut-brain axis. Now, don't think of it as some vague connection. Think of it as a literal, physical, and chemical superhighway with messages constantly zipping back and forth between your gut and your brain. All right, get ready for this, because it's a real jaw-dropper. About 90% of your body's serotonin, the famous feel-good chemical that regulates your mood, your happiness, all of it, isn't made in your brain. It's produced in your gut.
So how does this superhighway actually work? Well, there are four main lanes of communication. First, you've got the vagus nerve, which is like a direct data cable. Then the gut bacteria themselves produce chemical messengers like serotonin. They also talk through your immune system. And finally, their byproducts can travel right through the blood, straight to the brain. But what happens when that communication breaks down? When the signals get crossed, or worse, the wrong messages start getting sent. That's when we start running into some serious problems.
See, an imbalanced psychobiome, the scientific term is dysbiosis, is basically like having a ton of static on that superhighway. The wrong signals get sent to the brain, and the result isn't just an upset stomach, it's real mental and emotional distress. And hey, do these symptoms look a little familiar? Mood swings, that brain fog we talked about, trouble sleeping, feeling extra stressed. These are like the warning lights on your dashboard telling you your psychobiome is out of balance.
Okay, so that's the problem. And it sounds kind of serious, right? But here is the good news, the really good news. You are not powerless here. You can actually actively repair this communication line. So let's get into the reboot plan.
When you boil it all down, the health of your psychobiome really comes down to a choice you make every single day. You can either feed the good microbes that support your mind, or you can feed the disruptive ones that cause all that static on the line. Every meal is basically a vote for one or the other.
So there are three main principles to stick to. First, get a diet high in fiber, because that is the absolute favorite food of your good bacteria. Second, start adding in fermented foods, which introduce beneficial probiotics. And third, you gotta cut way back on the ultra-processed stuff that just fuels inflammation.
And if you want to really supercharge your psychobiome, you want to focus on these three power-ups. Prebiotics from things like garlic and onions are like a gourmet meal for your good bacteria. Polyphenols from berries and even dark chocolate, they act like little bodyguards protecting your system. And omega-3s from fatty fish and walnuts are just incredible inflammation fighters.
But listen, it's not just about food. Remember that vagus nerve? That data cable we talked about? Well, you can directly influence it.
Simple things like a little daily meditation or even some controlled breathing can tell your nervous system to switch out of that fight or flight mode, and that has a huge calming effect on your gut.
And of course, we can't forget the two absolute foundations of health: movement and sleep. Regular, moderate exercise is fantastic for your gut, while getting quality sleep is basically a nightly repair session for your entire body, including that all-important gut-brain axis.
And finally, a huge part of the plan is just playing good defense. This means being really mindful of the common things that disrupt your gut. Stuff like unnecessary antibiotics, too much alcohol, artificial sweeteners, and of course, a diet that's loaded with processed foods and sugar.
So, the big takeaway here is this: caring for your mental health really means caring for your whole body. Tending to this complex inner garden, it's not just about digestion. It's truly one of the most powerful things you can do for your mind. So that really just leaves one final question to think about. What is your gut trying to tell you?